everyone, and welcome back to Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. We will, of course, be talking wrestling tonight and quite a lot of wrestling to dive into. Our headlines tonight include the Priest versus Balor match coming forwards and in many ways being designed to hype Judgment Day back up. Bron Breaker versus Roman Reigns being a huge part of Jey Uso versus Bron Breaker. We're going to be talking NXT's women's division. We've got something on Kota Ibushi teasing the return of he and Kenny Omega to AEW. I've got a little bit to talk about when it comes to an offer that's been made to me. I want to clue you guys in as to what's happening there. A little bit on Bobby Lashley's impending arrival in AEW as well. We explain why YouTube thinks that I'm AI. More on that later. Why we're getting a Bayley versus Nia Jax rematch. What happened between Dave Meltzer and Thunder Rosa. And a little bit on the Royal Rumble. So plenty to dive into. As usual, we will be going through all of that news, plus as many of your questions as we can possibly answer as well. So be sure to hit like. We've got 30 people here already, only the 8 likes, 2 more gets up to 10. Let's get that ball rolling as we go into our top story. So our top story today will be the Judgment Day are doomed to repeat themselves after Bad Blood. Their storylines are not planned to end anytime soon. The Judgment Day storylines in many ways will be a wash and a repeat of exactly what we've already seen. They'll be spinning their wheels for a while. Bad Blood predictions do not include Rhea Ripley winning the championship from Liv Morgan. I have that happening around War Games Royal Rumble time, so a little further into play. But when it comes to Damian Priest and Finn Balor, this was originally planned to be a WrestleMania match, and in fact still is. The WWE are trying to use Bad Blood to hype up that eventual WrestleMania match, so don't be surprised if this does not have a conclusive finish. Triple H learned from having to spend almost a year teasing Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso, only for the match to basically mean that nobody cared about it. It was a massive disappointment at the very least, even if you factor in how Jey Uso has risen since. In fact, getting to the point, nobody really seemed to care when we actually got to Jey versus Jimmy Uso, and that is something that the WWE want to avoid, so we're having a much earlier impact from Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Of course, Damian Priest was quite recently a World Heavyweight Champion. Finn Balor's had his high moments, but he only really hit the heights once for one day during a Summerslam event against Seth Rollins, so it's a difficult one to really state. When it comes to these two individuals, Finn Balor was promised some big stuff in a new contract deal, and I don't feel like he's going to get it. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest seems almost guaranteed to disappoint. That said, the wrestlers and the WWE are confident that Bad Blood will leave you wanting more from these two. I am less convinced. Me, I am much less convinced. So we will start by going through the comments, and there's plenty of them, so let's dive in. Spider-Boss is asking for an update on Becky, more on that later. Sean says, hi Tom, welcome Sean. Michael also says, hi Tom, welcome Michael. Damien says, any ideas about London having a WWE PLE in 2025? Well, Damien, I can't guarantee it'll be London, but there are plans for a UK pay-per-view in the a UK pay-per-view in 2025. Nope. Sadiq Khan, too many Khans now. Sadiq Khan is already actively negotiating with Nick Khan about making that happen. He wants it in London, not any other part of the UK. Spider-Boss says, Bayley versus Naomi on SmackDown was good. Hope WWE give more good women's matches more often. There is a reason we're not getting many on SmackDown, I'll tell you that. Welcome, Bliss Gamer, good to see you. Rickan says, do you see the Bloodline 2.0 kicking Solo out? Nope, I see Bloodline 3.0 kicking Solo out. Sai says, good evening all, welcome Sai. Sam is asking about Seth again. Sam, you're never going to get the answer from me. At this point, even when I do have the answer, because it's all you do, I'm not going to give it to you. Just throwing that out there. Also 63 likes, make sure to thumbs up. Spider-Boss says 761. Okay, moving on. Sean says tonight is the final 3-hour Raw until they move to Netflix. Yes, it is indeed. Daniel says, hey everyone. Hello Daniel. And one says, hey Tom, according to SRS The Enemy, who reported because of the Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris election, it will go head-to-head with AEW on November 6th. Good luck to AEW on that one. Craig says, what's next for the Wild Six? They need new opponents. They do feel really aimless. It's been several months since they initially arrived. They've not been on a pay-per-view. They seem to be losing momentum for me, though there is still plenty of interest in them. I just need them to have someone new to work with. Jon says, any favourites to win the men's and women's Royal Rumble? I will be detailing that fairly shortly. Spider-Bell says, my only wish at this point is Rhea wins the women's world title at Saturday Night Main Event in December. Let's give something new to watch. Is Rhea new? Shaw Game says, hi Tom, any particular reason why you don't think Finn Priest will deliver? I don't necessarily think the story's there. While I do think the two of them can wrestle, and Damian Priest matches have been fairly memorable, we've seen a lot of this quite recently. We've seen Finn Balor's work, we're familiar with it, he's not really added anything new to his repertoire, and while Damian Priest has certainly reached new heights, I just don't think the two of them gel particularly well. I think Damian Priest works best when he's working with bigger guys. No Sid, didn't watch it, didn't care for it. Oh, happy birthday, Sean, congratulations. Maggie says, hey Tom from Scotland. Hey from Blackpool. Chris says, Royal Rumble Saturday, February 1st next year. Yeah, it's going to be a weird one, going a full January with no WWE pay-per-view, but I suppose that's what Saturday Night Main Event's all about. Ray Jones says, are you happy with SmackDown going to 3 hours? Not necessarily, but I don't watch it live, so it doesn't really matter. What I will say is that it's only going to be temporary, so we'll see how it plays out. Rickan says, I will point out though, a lot of people really excited about, oh, Jacob Fatu would be a better leader. Will he? How's his promos? You don't know, do you? There's a reason he's not in charge. Spider-Boss says, WWE announcers announced that beginning on October 4th, both Raw and SmackDown will be live on WWE in Spanish YouTube channel. Interesting. Sean says, Seth was at the Sunday Night Football game. My guess he was there to promote WWE. He was. They're still using him even though he's not actively able to wrestle right now. Boys says, hi Tom, any new news or update on Alexa Bliss? Not at this point in time. Everything that I've reported so far has been confirmed by other journalists, and that continues to happen. Chris says, good evening Tom. Good evening Chris, good to see you. And Spider-Boss says, after you said AEW is waiting for Julia Hart's return, I saw Mercedes Money's interview on The Breakfast Club. Mercedes said AEW is looking for her new opponent. Sid says, Hornswoggle said his son is a good wrestler. I'd imagine so. Joey says, are they worried about Fatu overshadowing Solo? Is that why he hasn't cut a promo? No, see, here's the thing. When Solo was not in charge, everyone wanted Solo to get pushed. Now Jacob's not in charge and everyone wants Jacob to be pushed. WWE know what they're doing. They're going to make it look like they're overlooking someone that they want to be pushed. It's fairly standard. Ed said Jacob Fatu doesn't have a terrible promo from watching his MLW run. No, but I did want to point out that most people here have not seen that, and most people in the fandom have not seen that. Six says, what do you think main events tonight's Raw? I thought it was Braun versus Reed, but I think it starts the show. Hard to say really at this point, because more often than not, when they announce a main event, it's already halfway through a show. No Jalen, no update on Raquel. Lots of talk on social media, but not from anybody who would actually know anything. Noob says, hello Mr. Colohue, how are you doing today and how was your weekend? My weekend was good, got a lot done. Did a lot on the house. Finally decided what I'm doing with this here office. Bit by bit we're getting there. You may note that there's a bit of unpainted there. That's because bit by bit I'm having to move everything slightly this way so that I can eventually move it slightly that way, and then I can finish it. There's a lot going on, guys. There's a lot going on. Maggie says, what do you think of Rikishi's comments about Jimmy Uso's health? Is it at work? Yes and no. There's nothing wrong with Jimmy Uso beyond what we already know about. It's confusing. Michael says, SRS just tweeted, AEW is hopeful and optimistic that Adam Cole will be returning soon, sources tell. That's good news. Yes, it is. And also strange that it's not behind his paywall. It's a weird one, that. Joey says, is Sammy and Gunter going to be added to Bad Blood? Doesn't seem like it, no. Bam Bam says, are the members of the Wyatt Six here tonight? And are they going to interfere in the match between Strowman and Reed? I've not been given any indication that that's going to happen. Six says, I see Triple H likes to make the main event during the show instead of announcing it beforehand. Pretty true of Vince as well. One says, hey Tom, do you have anything on Bleacher Report themselves reporting they will cut losses of AEW pay-per-views? They're not cutting losses, that's not what's happening. They are losing the contract and AEW are going somewhere else. That's all it is. Only a quarter of you so far have hit the like button. We've got 80 people watching, only 22 likes. Let's hit that thumbs up and keep that ball rolling. Double check if you haven't. It really does help boost the channel and guarantee more viewers. Jalen says, you don't think Liv versus Rhea will go until Mania? Nope. Spider-Boss says, Rikishi recently said WWE is pushing Jacob too fast. Seems Rikishi doesn't like someone looking better than his son. No, that's not it. As I said on, I want to say Monday. As I said on Monday, there are some concerns with some of the things that Rikichi is coming out with at the moment. Sean says, any updates on Shotzi or Gigi Dolan? Shotzi is on the way back. Shotzi's on the way back relatively soon. They were just working out the final tweaks to her character. As regards Gigi Dolan, we were waiting for a bit more. Joey says, what will be the last match on Bad Blood? Last I heard, it was going to be Hell in a Cell. That's last I heard, which was a while back. Thank you, Ray, for letting me know. Ray says YouTube just stopped and buffered. Did anyone else get a bit of buffer there like Ray did? If you did, please let me know. That says, big up Tom, when do you think they'll announce who's on the cover of 2K25? Usually that's in October, November time. If it's not Cody, then what the hell is the point of this? Sean says, Ethan Page said on Insight he left AEW because he felt it was time. He wasn't getting the opportunities to showcase what he can bring to the table like he's in NXT. Yep, pretty much. They didn't believe he was World Championship material. Neither does WWE, but he's NXT champion material. Oh, Joey, I don't see any extra matches added. Six says, chat, which makes the most sense. Cody Roman opens the show and Hell in a Cell mains or the other way around. Fair question. Let's open it up to the chat. Let's open it up to everyone. Let's get that chat rate going. Which match do you want to main event Bad Blood? There's 86 people here. Can we get 86 comments? Which match do you want to main event Bad Blood? Chris says, any word on what to expect for Saturday night's main event? Title changes. Shar Game apologises for boosting the chat rate. Never apologise, mate. And also asked another question to everyone. If you could If you could Pete Dunne. If you could book one match for an AEW versus WWE card, what would you pick? Shar Game would like Drew McIntyre versus Takeshita. Personally, I would always go Seth versus Jay. You all know this. Spider-Boss says, I think Roman should be on the cover of 2K25. Roman never had a solo cover in the 2K game. He also never wanted one. Bailey says, Rhea Liv for the main event. Jan says Drew versus Punk at Hell in a Cell. Jalen thinks Hell in a Cell should main event as well. Rickon says Drew versus Punk should main event. Sai says I can only see Hell in a Cell main eventing. Daz also has Hell in a Cell. Maggie, as regards Ethan Page, has always loved Ethan's work. And Spider-Boss says Roman and Cody versus the new Bloodline as the main event of Bad Blood. Chet says Hell in a Cell. Ed, in answer to Shar Game, wants MJF versus The Miz. Interesting. Maggie thinks Roman and Cody should main event. Ray Jones says reports say AEW Fight Forever 2 may be cancelled. To my knowledge, they have not formally confirmed there was ever going to be a Fight Forever 2. It did not succeed. It did not succeed. Chris goes Hell in a Cell. Spider-Boss for a crossover wants Mercedes Money versus Roxanne Perez, which is interesting. Joey says, will Triple H ever bring back the 6-match card for regular PLEs? They're trying to convince him. He's not being sold. Erin wants a Hell in a Cell main eventing and Liv and Rhea starting. Chris for the crossover has Bayley versus Sky Blue, and Bliss Game wants Hell in a Cell to main event. Yes, Delgado. Cherry. Sean says, why was Royal Rumble moved to February? Is the venue being used in January? Yes, it's exactly that. Chris says, I've got Roman Cody versus Solo, Jacob Fatu headlining. I suppose it really depends on what's going to happen afterwards. Joey says, is it true Shotzi will be returning with an American Psycho gimmick? Not entirely. Not entirely. There are definitely moments and elements of this which are true. It is a unique gimmick, but there's definitely influence from a Psycho character. Rickon wants Seth Rollins versus Kenny Omega. One has Punk versus McIntyre for the main event, and also according to Insider Gaming and PWInsider, AEW is considering finding a new developer for their video games. Yeah, Fight Forever did not work. They spent a lot of money and got very little back from it. It did not work. Ken says, hey Tom, do you think Liv Morgan will stay at the top of the card after she loses the title? No, but I think she'll be very close and she'll return to the top of the card relatively quickly. KJ says, what's up, Tom and chat? Welcome, KJ. Nice to see you. Maggie is powerbombing the like button. 89 people here, 34 likes. We can keep that going. Spider-Boss said, I'd love to see a rivalry between Babyface Jay White versus Hangman Adam Page. Not quite a crossover, but I get what you're saying. Bam Bam, you've already asked that, and I've already answered it. Ross says, Hell in a Cell to main event. That's for the showcase match once Rey Mysterio versus Luchasaurus. Ooh. Aaron says, however, what I think they'll actually do is Roman and Cody headline. KJ said I'd like Punk versus Drew to main event, and for the crossover I'd like AJ Styles versus Kenny Omega. Ow. You guys always give me such great answers. You see, Shark Game, never apologise. This is what chat rate's all about. 6 says I see the match order going as such. Cody and Roman versus Bloodline first, then Nia versus Bayley, then Finn versus Damian, then Rhea versus Liv, and finally Drew versus Punk. Only way I see the tag match main eventing is if The Rock returns, in which case, very deserved. Sid says, would you be happy if 2K25 had TNA wrestlers on the roster? I don't believe legally that's permitted. Ross for the crossover match wants Will Ospreay versus Seth Rollins. KJ, says Punk versus Jack Perry would make sense too. It would make both companies a lot of money. It's a fair shout. Bliss Gamer says Alexa Bliss versus Julia Hart, which I'd also love. Joey says, I hope this new gimmick for Shotzi doesn't want to see her be another... I don't want to see her be another Nikki Cross. Jack has Chris Statlander versus Charlotte Flair. Spider-Boss says, I still think Tama Tonga will replace Jacob Fatu. It'll be Roman and Cody versus Solo and Tama Tonga. I can't see Jacob being pinned for now. No, I agree with that. And I suggested that as well myself. Juan says, Tiffany Stratton versus Mariah May in a blood and guts match. And Sid says, what do you think of the Mr. McMahon documentary? Most of what's in that documentary I've already reported here on YouTube. A lot of that news isn't really news for regular fans or anyone who's watched my videos on the subject. So it's a difficult one to really answer. Joey says, do you see Penta coming by himself with Ray's contract being extended? I see him signing, but I don't see him activating until Ray Phoenix arrives. Ooh, Spider-Man says Buddy Matthews versus Dominik Mysterio. You could build a hell of a card on this. You don't need to just be star power. There are some good storylines already well set to go. Jey Uso last week for Raw won the Intercontinental Championship from Bron Breaker, and Bron Breaker is not going to be happy about it. This feud is set to continue. Bron Breaker is set to go after that championship once again. The end game, as Bron Breaker is in fact now vocalizing, is that Bron Breaker will work his way up through the bloodline, as it will eventually be reborn, working his way to Roman Reigns. A Bron Breaker versus Roman Reigns match is planned for next year, though it isn't necessarily going to be for the Intercontinental Championship. They're talking about it relatively early. We'll see what happens when the draft comes. But Bron Breaker is someone that Triple H has a lot of love for, wants to push extremely hard to essentially replace Brock Lesnar. If you're going to replace Brock Lesnar, you need to be able to work with Roman Reigns. KJ says there was some 2K cover talk. I think they should have multiple people on the cover. Maybe Roman, Seth, Punk, Cody, Rhea, Bianca, and maybe Liv. That's a handful of people, but why not? I definitely see there being a CM Punk version now that he's signed a new contract. Rickon says would like to see Randy versus MJF. Also work. And Sean suggests my AEW crossover match, Becky Lynch versus Jamie Hayter. Calvin says, what's up, Tom? Do you see Fury and Waller winning the NXT tag titles or Fraxium retaining and getting nothing afterwards like always? The latter, unfortunately. Maggie says, I'm glad AJ's coming back soon. They need to find something meaningful for him to do. How can you not find something decent to do for someone as talented as AJ? AJ Styles versus Andrade and or Carmelo Hayes is certainly on the agenda. Hector says, give me Cody versus John Moxley. Know they might have faced in AEW, but this new Mox character could be good against huge babyface Cody. Calvin says, Braun is going to be in a foul mood tonight. I cannot disagree with you. Ray has Jake something versus Bron Breaker. This has really got people going. Jack has House of Black versus Wyatt 6, which would be amazing. Steve says that Jey Uso the first Samoan IC champ since Umaga. I believe so, yes. Although, to be fair, no, he's not. Roman's a former IC champion. Guys, we've got a troll. I just want to draw a lot of attention to the troll. Melina Lopez doesn't like lists. Doesn't like lists. And thinks they know better. So everyone say hi to the troll. Everyone say hi to the troll who loves this channel so much that they're spending all of their time here. Spider-Boss says Roman versus Bron Breaker will be a passing of the torch. Bron will be the next face of WWE. Roman cannot pass the torch to Bron Breaker. He already passed it to Cody Rhodes. Dad says, when is Randy on NXT, Tom? This week, I believe. And Chris says, Bayley on the cover of WWE 2K25. Michael suggests Kevin Owens versus Jay White and kind of just have them talk at each other for years. Please and thank you. Peas and carrots. Spider-Boss says, AJ Styles versus LA Knight for the US title. That day will undoubtedly come back. Juan says, according to Mike Taven of the Undisputed Era, he said Wardlow has a knee injury at the moment and that the storyline hasn't been dropped yet. Also suggests Bron Breaker versus Wardlow. 6 says, here's a twist, and our Bloodline will win with Solo pinning Roman because of a debut from either Coolio or Zilla. Coolio is likely the next one to be involved. We have 96 people watching, so close to 100, and 37 likes. If we can get 3 more likes, chances are we'll boost up to that 100. Have a double check. If you haven't done it yet, it does make a massive difference. The chat rate, however, is still going brilliantly. Shargame, you've launched something. Joey says, who do you see winning the Andrade Melo Game 7 match? Melo, personally. Aaron says, AJ returning as a heel still? Initially, though, I don't think it's going to last. A lot of love for the troll. A lot of high trolls, by trolls. Joey says, oh look, the troll returns on their 10th account. Maggie's still getting over Cody pinning Roman. Bailey says, AEW versus WWE will never happen. How about WWE versus TNA matchups? I mean, you're welcome, but I don't really know their roster. Oh, thank you, KJ. Says, sorry, Tom, but Punk's on NXT this week. Randy's on next week, October 8th. Appreciate it. No need to be sorry. We've been over this. Jack suggests Roman versus John Moxley. Joey says, is Coolio going to be starting in NXT? That is a report that's out there. It's not necessarily what I see happening. Chris says, Randy Orton is on NXT next Tuesday in his hometown of St. Louis. Melina accuses me of a fake report when I'm actually doing is reading WWE versus AEW dream matches. Yeah, you're definitely paying attention. Spider-Bell says, if Roman and Cody lose, I think Cody gets pinned. Personally, I disagree. Oh, of course, yeah, he's facing Javon Evans, isn't he? KJ says, I counted 2 views as I got on my TV and phone. Had to leave my room, but I kept it on my phone. Appreciate it, mate. Nice to hear it. Steve says, Brock Steiner, Scott's done NXT bound. Not as of yet. Yarrow, English. I know very, very little Spanish. True, Maggie. That's the thing I always found with trolls. If you ask them a direct question, you realise that they actually have you on mute. So they have no idea what they're talking about. Ross says, just chuck another Sheamus versus Claudio match on the crossover because they are both brilliant. I cannot disagree. One day we'll actually have to make a card. Recon says, I think if the WWE does sign Zilla Fatu, he should start on NXT. Sean says, do you see Ethan retaining even though Punk is a guest ref? Yeah, I don't think there's any connection there. Michael says, Andrade and Carmelo is leading to them tagging next, right? I think Sheamus and Cesaro. To be fair, the bar was amazing. Calvin says, if Fury and Waller ever split, how do you see them setting up the storyline? By splitting. And Bailey says the troll is on a roll. Are they? Kind of pointless life. Aaron says Wyatt 6 versus a patriarchy could be good. A Rowan Luchasaurus match would be good. It would, though of course Christian would then have to turn on uncles. Please do, Shargame, appreciate it. 6 says, lastly, if The Rock returns at Bad Blood, I'd have him side with Roman for a while, then have him turn on him in the build up to War Games. But a question for everyone, can Rocky do a War Games match? No. Joey says Christoph must be bored with his life. Christoph still watches. Hector says, Tom, with AJ back, do you foresee him being a part of Cena's retirement tour? It would make sense considering their history. Yes, that has been something that's been mentioned. King Azza says, Tom, do you see Liv retaining over Rhea at Bad Blood would benefit Rhea if she's the one chasing the championship? Yes, I do. Martin, welcome, says, good evening all. Late, but better late than never. Hope all good as well. All good in chat as well, you legends. Welcome, Martin. Good to see you, mate. Chris says, Julia Hart and Sky Blue versus Bailey and Naomi. We might as well start adding some more. Danelle says he's still getting OG Bloodline versus Timu Bloodline at War Games. Oh, I love it. I love it. And yes, I very much am. Sid says, who was the first tag team you saw wrestle? Steve Austin and The Undertaker. Spider-Boss says, I think Jimmy Uso returns at Bad Blood, helping Roman and Cody. And Michael says, Roxanne said she's learning under a learning tree, just as CM Punk learning tree. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. She knows what she did. The WWE are planning to have the NXT women's division explode with an embarrassment of riches before the call-ups to both Raw and SmackDown put an end to that. I just want to repeat that. WWE are planning to have the NXT women's division explode with an embarrassment of riches. There are more people that they have signed that you're going to be very excited about that have not yet been announced and that people are not yet aware of. We know Delta is coming. Ella J reported that one, and I've been able to confirm it. So Delta is definitely coming as well, but there are plenty more names. Cora Jade is also due to return soon, as is Gigi Dolan. So there's going to be more names getting involved. Personally, I do think eventually, one way or another, WWE are going to find a way to bring back Mandy Rose. Martin, I want to say a massive thank you for a very generous donation. Says, apologies. Don't worry about it. No apology needed. Course took most of the weekend. In good news, all passed and completed. Flying colours. Is a little something that I missed buying you a drink. Definitely next time. Don't worry about it, sir. I appreciate you nonetheless. And you, of course, a very generous member of the chat. Please remember to leave a like on Martin's donation there. It does really help to show that generosity and show all of our appreciation. There's already 3 likes and I absolutely love it for that. Sean said, do you think WWE should have went with a triple threat match, Nia versus Bayley versus Naomi, instead of a rematch? There's a reason that didn't happen, which I will get to shortly. Joey said, there's a plan for Priest and Finn to have a match at Mania 41. Yes, it is. Rickan says, who's your favourite WWE superstar of all time? It's Triple H. And I've now met and interviewed him twice. Steve says, is it too early for Royal Rumble speculation? No, and I will be doing that shortly. Ross suggests Usos versus Young Bucks. And KJ says, Nikita Lyons is back. She returned to a live event this past weekend and wrestled. Indeed, she did. I think I'm bored of the troll now, so goodbye. 6 says, now to Cody versus Roman. If they do it at Crown Jewel, I'd have Rock turn there, because if anyone is taking the belt from him, it'll be The Rock. Cody versus The Rock at WrestleMania 41. That is indeed still the plan. Cody versus The Rock. KJ says, speaking of the women's division, I'm still hoping AJ Lee comes back, but maybe she'll just come back for a Hall of Fame induction soon. She's more open to it now than she was previously. Spider-Boss says, WWE bringing back Mandy Rose. That should mean WWE giving an apology to Mandy after how they fired Mandy. That wouldn't happen. They would have to agree to let bygones be bygones and then go from there. Danielle says, Roman is on every SmackDown after Bad Blood. How come? Nearly. Not quite. Oh, don't worry, Martin. You know how it goes. You know how it goes. You guys responding to the troll is not a bad thing for me. The troll chatting away is not a bad thing for me. Trolls boost the chat rate. Never a bad thing. And in fact, you can see the chat rate still going up. We've in fact just broken 100 viewers. Thank you everyone for joining us. More than 100 people consistently will mean more sponsorship opportunities, and I have now started to look for sponsors. My idea is essentially I will read out something during a live show. Also over on the overlay just down here, I'll put a logo for whatever sponsor, and slowly we'll start to fill it up like a wall. Just a wall of sponsors, and read out a few different ones over the course of it. I'm not looking for getting you guys to click a link. I'm looking to basically shout out good products that you guys might be interested in. Chances are it's going to end up being Manscaped, but hey, we all got to shave somehow, so just throwing that out there. I am currently preparing the channel and a media pack to make suggestions for, hey, we've got a pretty engaged audience. We get this many views. We get this from shorts. We regularly get more than 100 viewers in every live stream. Do you want to put your money where your mouth is? Because if they do, I don't have to ask for money from you guys. I just have to ask you to care about stuff every now and then and survive the sponsorship stuff, which, you know, that's the job. Sean says, Scarlett wrestled at a recent live event. It was Scarlett and Carrion versus Damian and Rhea. I'm not sure on Megan Bain. It's not a name I've heard them mention, this guy. They will never do that, Sean. Spider-Ball says, WWE keep teasing Kevin Owens' heel turn, and Kevin Owens may cost the match to Roman and Cody at Bad Blood. It's not a turn from Kevin Owens you should be worried about. Joey says, are any Marigold talent going to be a part of this explosion in the women's division? Yes. I've in fact been mentioning some on Twitter. KJ says, Troll, can you help us with the chat rate? Nah, I've kicked them. They'll come back, you know this. Rizal says, hello Tom, listen to the spoiler warning, I'll try to fix my computer. Fingers crossed, mate. Sorry you're having some problems there. King Azza says, Tom, do you see Jimmy or Paul Heyman returning at Bad Blood? No, I see it being a clean, quiet win. Ray says, do you think JBL is a wrestling god? Does anyone? Bailey says, Cherry Coke is a sponsor? I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? genuine question, guys, because how susceptible are you to that sort of advertising? Because I love cherry Coke, how often do you guys drink cherry Coke? And have I made it more? KJ says, speaking of sponsors, what about WWE and their damn dude wipes? What a name. Yeah, we all know what they're for. Steve says, is Def Rebel done? Who is in charge of music these days? Can they rehire old producers? Not sure on that one, I don't have the news. Danelle says, do you support Gia, which is Jay and Rhea? Well, if my shorts are anything to go by. CFC says, think about 2 weeks ago, Dakota posted on Insta with see you soon. Curious how soon are we to see her returning? Also, do you think WWE slowly turning Tiffany babyface? Yes, they are slowly turning Tiffany babyface as regards Dakota Kai, as she posted that because she was going live on Twitch. Sid says, will WWE be signing any TNA superstars? Yes. Jordan Grace is someone that they want to add to this NXT explosion. Calvin says, what superstar do you see in pink gear other than possibly Seth Rollins? Most of the women. One says, I'm currently drinking Cherry Powerade Zero. Have you tried it? No. Sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. And Spider-Boss says it was weird to see Randy Orton being peacemaker between Cody and KO last Friday. Very strange. Strange world. The Money Boys End Game. Hell of a name. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for subscribing on the YouTube side. Here comes the money, but in this case, for you. Joey says, is the plan for this Bayley and Nia feud going to lead to Tiffany having a big babyface run? More on that shortly. So, Kota Ibushi has teased an AEW return for both he and Kenny Omega, but I need to rumour kill this one a little bit, unfortunately. Kenny Omega is a considerable distance from being ready to return. He is working towards it. He's working with Kota Ibushi to regain fitness, but right now he is far from being cleared. Kota Ibushi will be returning to AEW shortly. There are plans being put together for him. He's working with Mercedes Money's writing team to guarantee a bit more attention going his way. Kenny Omega is not close to a wrestling return. KJ says, hate to break it to you, I've never had cherry Coke. Okay, you got some problems though. Fair enough. Aaron, no cherry Coke, but a few Diet Cokes. And KJ says, I think Tiffy is cashing in a Bad Blood. Maggie says, I love Luke said, but I shouldn't. I'm diabetic. Wow. Yeah, can't do that. Can't do that. I remember when they released Lucozade 0 calorie, and it had 8 calories. That's why they pulled it. I have something to run past you guys. It's a bit of a weird one, but I want to run it past you to see what you all think. I was approached in the last couple of weeks by someone who wants me to help them run a channel on wrestling. It's a channel which has more than 260,000 subscribers, but in my research, and thanks to some additional research from Sai, very grateful for that, I found that a lot of these are inactive, and that also bore out with the average video views, which came to about 4,000 or 5,000. So 260,000 subscribers, 4,000 or 5,000 views per video. Not great. Now, I did some further analysis, and when it comes to active viewers, I think we'd have a similar number to where we have here, but they'd be different. So I've been offered the opportunity to go out there and help with a different channel. The big tell for me that it's not got that many viewers is that the channel isn't monetized, which means essentially my first job would be to get it monetized. Now, the person who offered me this initially asked me not to do any live streams on this channel and only live stream over there. I said, no, that's not how we're going to do this. Not in any way, shape or form. So we're having further discussions about it. I'm reticent. I'm not certain just yet. I'm going to take my time on this one. But if there is an audience, and if it is something being pushed as heavy as the person creating it suggests, it could be interesting. The channel is called Wrestle Hype. So it's Wrestle_Hype. That's what they've named it. Don't worry, Maggie. I take my time with these things. The channel is called Wrestle Hype. If anyone wants to check them out, Wrestle_Hype. Have a look and see what you think. No, Joey, I would still be promoting myself. I'd still have my own channel and everything. But yeah, it's stuff like that. It does, Joey, and that's something I'm aware of. And that's why I've done the research, as has Sai, to basically ensure that it's not a scam. And I can guarantee this is at least an individual who wants to make a wrestling channel, somebody who has worked in wrestling channels previously, and someone with a history of working with wrestling and MMA. So this is someone who is legit to my knowledge. It's just a case of, for me, is it worth the time? Is it worth the effort? When, to be blunt, this channel's doing pretty good. This channel's doing very good. So I just wanted to know what people thought of that. Spider-Boss says the Vince and Shane relationship's so weird, said that the only thing Shane wanted from Vince was his respect. Not anymore. Yes, Sean, I did, and it's not something I'm really going to be talking about because that's it's a hit. It's a hit. The other Mike says, why is nobody talking about how Mox's new character is based on a neo-Nazi character? He's been accused of that before. Shah Game says, I'm not sure if I just stopped paying attention, but it seems like all the reports around the AEW deal being done slowed down. Do you have any updates? Nope, never had anything to begin with, to be honest. Will Riley says, hi Tom, don't suppose you know who the AEW Collision ring announcer is? I believe it was Brian Cage's wife, Melissa Santos. Haven't checked on that one, to be honest. Yes, CFC, I have indeed. Was that alright? Chris says, I don't see Tiffany Stratton cashing in a briefcase of Bad Blood, her blood case. King Azza says, Tom, I'd like to see Cody get pinned by Jacob Fatu after the match. Roman gets angry at Cody, then Roman spears him, holding the championship over his head, signalling a rematch. Solo would be entitled to one first. KJ says, that's a crazy in-between number of views and total subs. Yeah, it is, isn't it? As Sai rightly pointed out, there was 1 month they got 139,000 subscribers. Yeah, sure. Very debatable. There's a lot of ball subscribers. Marlon says, not great to be honest, it's awful that, to be honest, I used to think subscriber count was the be-all and end-all. After your help, I fully understood what growth meant, so basically, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that, mate. Once you have more than 1,000 subscribers, that number's not relevant anymore. It's always good to keep it going up, and certainly, over the last 28 days, I've had more than 600 new subscribers, mostly from the Shorts feed, but it's more than 600 new subscribers. We're doing great right now. But the subscriber number is not the most important number as many seem to think it is. Views count for more, retention counts for even more than that. Ray Jones says ODB is hinting on X on a wrestling return. Said with a company, do you want to see her go to? Not something I really know about, to be honest. KJ says I'd only do it if you get benefits from it. You have a ton on your hands as it is. You may not have a ton of time, but regardless of what you choose, I'll be here to support you. I appreciate that. To be blunt, with the house as it is, I don't have a lot of time. You're absolutely right. And that's something I need to be aware of. I can't take too much on because I also, I'm a parent. I got stuff to do. I want date nights. Maggie says, yes, Tom, just take your time. I'm sure you'll do your research. You'll know full. I'm not, and I appreciate that. I do have a very good team here. Sai, Ed, Lauren, Megan, they are very good people who really do support what we do here, and I do want to give them some love as well. This guy says, with our contract running out around the same time, who do you feel is most likely to leave? Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, or AJ Styles? I think AJ Styles is most likely to leave. He's the only one who's vocalised that he would like this to be his last contract. And Spider-Boss says, after 10 years since the Shield broke up, all Shield members have been the leaders of their own groups. One says, Dave Meltzer's been blocking people who keep proving him wrong as of late. He's worse than SRS the enemy at this point. No, Martin, not a name I've heard. Not a name I've heard. Interesting, Martin. Good thing to pop a reminder on. That's a good idea. I'll try that in the next show. It's a very good idea. Welcome, Hassing. Good to see you, mate. Calvin says, do you see Orton bringing back the punt if he turns heel? Yeah, always. Vicky says, hey Tom, hope all is well. Remember to watch the pig. That's our first watch the pig so far. Welcome, Vicky. Erin says, I can't even find the channel on YouTube. Wrestling_hype. Is it Wrestling Hype or is it Wrestle Hype? I was there earlier. Don't know. Like I'm a manager of the channel already. I've just heard about it yesterday. So it's all moving very fast and I'm going to, pardon me, want to slow it down. Can't blame me, Calvin. One says, hey Tom, I've been wanting to ask you this. Does AEW's ratings, being what they are, have anything to do with training their audience by giving away pay-per-view matches or hot shot booking? No, it's all about retention rate. They just don't have it. You learn on YouTube about retention and how valuable it is, and that immediately told me that, AEW doesn't have it. It's a struggle that they have. Bailey says, with 3 months to go, how is the channel tracking towards a 1 million goal? Tracking very well. We're very close now to 600,000 views for the year so far, and it's worth pointing out, nearly 300,000 of them came last month. There is, however, a small problem, which we'll get to shortly. Something which could derail the whole thing. We'll get to that soon. Will Rally, JD from NY is far from the #1 most subs on YouTube. Not even close. Not even close. Check out Smosh. No, Jack, there's an underscore. Wrestling_hype. Joey says, do you know why Vinci keeps losing? Is it going to lead something? Yes, it's to get people talking and to get them saying he deserves better. Rickan says, do you see AJ going to TNA, AEW or retiring? TNA while under WWE contract. Maggie says, it always helps when you got a good team behind you, and I really do. So it says, Dasha correct is AEW Collision. Ring announcer, thank you there. Yon says, do you see Becky Lynch changing her character when she returns? More on that later. KJ says, this year's Rumble could be insane. We could possibly be Roman for the first time. Maybe Rock. Lots of names. No worries, Martin. Anything I can do to help any YouTuber, budding or otherwise, I will absolutely do. I'm trying, Will Rally. We've got more than 7,000 now, which is not something I imagined. Six says, people like Braun... people looks like Braun versus Reed won't be main eventing. Man says, I've now learned any topic on 115 at Manchester City gains massive views. Give them what they want. Nope, Will Rally, it's not. It's not what culture. Maybe T-Series right now, they did pretty well. Joey says, is Becky going to feud with Liv when she returns? More on that later. And Martin says, by the way, I loved the short earlier, may have missed it, but I take it you think the Y6 are slowing down at the moment. Yes, unfortunately I do. I very much do. Yes, Bam Bam. David says, did AJ sign a new deal? Nope. Calvin says, I'd so die if AEW brought back the Wrestlemania Rage Party. MVP has now arrived in AEW. Bobby Lashley is soon to follow. MVP and Bobby Lashley negotiated their AEW deals together. However, they were released from their WWE contracts, or I should say their contracts ended at different times, meaning Lashley will be following MVP to AEW shortly once his obligatory sitting out from WWE is done. Both MVP and Bobby Lashley's contracts allow them to work with different competitors to AEW, but not wrestling competitors. So it's combat sports particularly that Bobby Lashley was looking for, and that is something he's been permitted to use. Now, as regards those views we've been getting, there is a slight problem that I'm encountering now. A slight problem which really has confused me, and it's really hurting my views, but also I kind of get it. YouTube thinks I'm AI. Yeah, I didn't imagine that one, did you? So, because of the content I've been uploading, it's been a lot of ringside stuff, backstage, some Instagram stuff. It's been a lot of sharing information, sharing backstage footage and the like in the WWE. Because it doesn't feature this old face, YouTube now suspects I'm AI, and the actual cutting and pasting and sharing of text, because I work in a consistent manner, YouTube suspects it's AI. So suddenly my YouTube Shorts views have gone doom. And that's it. They have hit rock bottom. There's a couple of them, 20, 25 views. So the shorts in which this old face is on screen, they're coming back. They're coming back hard. Because I need to convince YouTube that I'm not AI before we get to Bad Blood. Because when we get to Bad Blood, there'll be a lot more of that backstage and Instagram content that I want to be throwing on the Shorts feed. So, lots more of this, particularly on days when there isn't highlights from Raw or SmackDown. The phrase WWE Raw highlights have been very good for me recently. So, there'll be a lot more of this in the way it used to be, sharing news in that same way that I used to do to essentially ensure that YouTube learns and stops punishing me for AI that I'm not. Michael says, I would assume Shelton is AEW bound too. I can confirm that Shelton Benjamin has been working with AEW in an unofficial capacity as a backstage trainer. I would imagine then that a contract is forthcoming. Spider-Boss says MVP and Lashley on AEW would be the Hurt Syndicate since WWE owns the name Hurt Business. It'd be something. Business would be good. Nothing on Alexa Bliss Will Rally. I've reported way ahead of anyone else what's happening there, and it's nice to see that they've been catching up. I don't do impressions, Chet. That's a strange thing to ask for. Will Rally, I think one of the things you've forgotten, the WWE YouTube channel. Pretty good for subs. Joey says, do you see Bobby being in the main event scene in AEW, or will it be the same spot as WWE? Won't be straight into the main event scene, but he will be catapulted high on the card. Oh yeah, Joey, he gets all the attention because of what he says online. He knows that, and that's why he says it. KJ says, Judgment Day versus Wyatt 6 after Bad Blood, in my opinion, could be good for the Wyatts. You could even add Alexa to the Wyatts to even out against Liv and Raquel if she comes back. To be clear, Alexa Bliss has something else to do when it comes to the Wyatt 6. Marcel says, hi Tom and chat, how are you all? We'll watch back later, still at work. Sorry to hear that, mate, but I hope you're having a good day. Maggie says, that sucks, Tom, YouTube needs to get real. It does. But also, once again, because of the content I've been uploading, I can't necessarily blame it. It was doing really well though. I didn't quite hit 300,000 views, but I came this close. I came this close. Thank you very much, Martin. Appreciate you. Another very generous donation. So smash those likes. All smash the chat rate, and most of all, thank you, Tom, and thank you, sir. Always appreciate you. Spider-Boss says, do you think Cora Jade should be on the main roster after 3 years in NXT? Yes. Sean says, will MVP be wrestling in AEW? Yes. Six says, is it true WWE want Aleister Black back? Yes. Kevin says, Tom, are you sure you're not AI? Yes. Martin says, doing very well, Daz. Talking to Daz. Mr. Reed says, evening. I keep meaning to message you and I do apologise. I'm just going to say it out here while you're here. Dan, I'd love to interview you. I'd love to be able to sit you down, talk to you about what we want to present, talk about what Eve's doing right now, who they're working with, some backstage stuff, and then take out the quotes, not take out the quotes, but take the quotes, write them up, and send them on to people that I do know who work for Wrestling Inc., who work for No DQ, work for Body Slam, and just see if they can use them. Hopefully, that could be beneficial for you. I think we could have some fun with that. And I'll formally message you about that. I'm going to write it on my hand actually. I'm just going to write it down and just remind myself to send you a message about that. I'd love to interview you. Joey says, do you see Roxanne and Cora getting back together? Probably. Yeah, I've heard a few people say that, Joey. I'd love to get that one going. Sid says the YouTube stream is going perfect. Good to hear. And Six thinks the next feud for the Wyatt 6, so many sixes, will be the final testament. Bam Bam, those are the rumours from Raj Giri. Spider-Boss says, just as a theory, Raquel returns, hits Rhea, Liv wins, but then Raquel ends up punching Liv, so Raquel faces Liv for now. I'd imagine she's immediately going to be beaten up by Rhea Ripley. Lovely, Dan. I'll message you. We'll work out what we want to talk about, what you want to hit, because it's wrestling media, it's media in general. Symbiotic, work together. I just think it could be very helpful. I don't know. I've been able to generate some contacts amongst the reporters, amongst the aggregators, which would result in aggregators taking that, and it becomes a whole thing. So I'm excited for that, and I think we can potentially do something with it, but I don't know. I just want to try and direct some traffic to your YouTube channel because you're using it really smartly. Anyway, the buyer. Gotcha, Dan. Still cool and still worth discussing. I definitely think that's something we could talk about. Bailey, I merged Bailey and Nia. Bailey versus Nia Jax rematch is not necessarily about Bailey or Nia Jax. As you will likely have seen, a lot of focus right now is in Tiffany Stratton, who they're trying to elevate. Triple H is not said to be particularly confident in the SmackDown talent pool in the women's division and wants to try and elevate some different names. He is very confident with Tiffany Stratton, who has the Becky Lynch endorsement, and she's responded really well to the connection with the crowd. This is why, as many of you have picked up on, they're working on turning her face. The intention being that when she cashes in on Nia Jax, it's a face turn. Now, this does lend a lot of credence to what comes next, because the rumours are for WrestleMania, Charlotte versus Tiffany. However, there's also the option of a Charlotte versus Nia match. Bayley does not seem likely to be competing for the championship at WrestleMania. Tiffany Stratton could well be in a very strong position come WrestleMania, because essentially this year has been her year of elevation. We are looking at the championship win for Tiffany Stratton, a victory over Nia Jax, but not quite yet. They want all the pieces in place before they cash that in. Couple more things to cover out. Do want to point out, Thunder Rosa corrected Dave Meltzer, who incorrectly reported on her injury return. This is unfortunately something that's been happening more and more recently. Dave Meltzer will do what Dave Meltzer does, ignore it entirely, and keep reporting the same thing. He doesn't call her a liar. He lets other people do that for him. Very awkward. This guy says, will WWE bring back Matt Cardona? He is now more interested than he's been. He's said to want to return now. He's heard very good things. Chelsea Green has been convincing. Spider-Boss says, I thought it was a joke, but WWE selling on WWE Shop toilet paper with Dominik's face on it. Yeah, it's a weird world, isn't it? It's a very weird world. KJ says, Tom, I got a question. AEW, WWE doesn't matter. They can choose to add an injury time onto wrestlers' contracts. Can they add time on creative hiatus time? No, because that's not the wrestler's fault. And yeah, injury is not the wrestler's fault. It's a bad practice. It needs to end. I would love if there was a wrestler union. It had momentum briefly. The wrong person was the front. The wrong person was the face of it. Yeah. Man says, I don't know why Nia versus Charlotte doesn't excite me. Tiffany versus heel Charlotte does. CFC says, Tiffy time will soon be upon us, and when it happens, it'll be glorious. And Kevin says, how long can you see WWE continuing with this momentum? A while. They're in a good spot. Maggie says, go Thunder Rosa. You tell him. Sean says, when do you see Dakota Kai back? When she's fit. And Spider-Boss says, any update on Daniel Garcia on AEW? As I previously reported, his return at All In did not mean he had signed a new deal. He was waiting for promises to be kept. No signature has been forthcoming as of yet. The final thing I want to discuss, I'm going to make a real early Royal Rumble prediction. You've seen my prediction for the men's, but I also have a prediction for the women's, and it's out there. So, my prediction for the winner of the men's Royal Rumble is going to be Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre will win the Royal Rumble and take the championship from Gunther at WrestleMania. That's my prediction there. For the women's, I don't have one winner. I, in fact, have two winners who will go on to feud before eventually we have basically both of them getting the championship match. I also have two returns at the Royal Rumble who then go on to win. I have Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair being joint winners of the Royal Rumble. And before we can get to a proper finish, I have them beating the crap out of each other and ending up backstage and possibly in an ambulance. Yeah, I think they're going to do Lynch and Flair again. And I'm absolutely there for it. Absolutely there. And then, yes, Charlotte moves on to a championship match on SmackDown. Lynch moves on to a championship match on Raw. What do you mean still covering Becky, KJ? I never stopped. Man says, I just want to see MJF versus Cody versus Punk triple threat at Mania. You will not be getting your wish. Calvin says, Drew won the Royal Rumble in 2020, right? Yes, he did 4 years ago. 4 years ago. Dan says, so you know about my history in equity, right? We had a meeting with you, should not be named. Dude is a wacko. Yeah, that came across. And it surprised me that it wasn't quickly picked up on. Like, I'd imagine you picked up on it pretty quickly. You've got a bullshit radar, absolutely second to none. CFC says, if you had to give a long shot, super early prediction on who do you have to win the Women's Rumble next year? I believe I've just answered that. Spiderboss says, Bianca will win the 2025 Women's Rumble. Mine says, that's it, dream over. Sid says, Matt Cardona is in TNA in a feud with PCO. Will face PCO at TNA Bound for Glory. It is 5 minutes to the hour. We've been live for 55 minutes. We peaked at 118 viewers. We've had 61 likes and 2 generous donations from Martin. Dan, I'll reach out to you in the next couple of days. I've got it written on my hand to remind me. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Say a massive thank you to everyone for joining me. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.